Hey, what's going on, Who Dat Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones, just like it says at the bottom of the screen right there. And I am the host of the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. Hey, before I get started, I want to make sure everybody can hear me. Y'all know how I go at the station sometimes, man. You know, I sometimes the soundboard be a little bit wonky. So before I even go any further, somebody let me know if they can hear me loud and clear. I just want to see, can you hear me loud and clear before we go ahead and get started? Hope everybody having a good day so far. Hope everybody's having a good day. Hope everybody having a good day. Hope everybody is enjoying their day. I mean, it's a beautiful day out here, Myrtle Beach. You know, it's one of those days where it's kind of chilly, but still is a beautiful day nonetheless. Appreciate everybody's time. Appreciate everybody spending a few minutes with your boy. We got some people filing into the chat here. Shouts out to Derek, XX Street here. We got my boy Josh in the building. We got Chosen in the building, and everybody else that's filing in. If I don't see your name, charge it to my head and not my heart as everybody file in. If you're watching this on your lunch break, I really do appreciate that as well. I'm not going to hold you long like a preacher would say on a Sunday, but we got to talk a little bit about the Saints offseason plans here as we fully transition to the offseason. Now we know who the Super Bowl champions are. Congratulations to the Seattle Seahawks winning Super Bowl 60. A lot of people thought that the Super Bowl was a little bit of a snooze fest, but me, I actually like the Super Bowl, man. I'm big on defense. I think that defense, when it comes to strategy and, you know, trying to neutralize these offenses when the offenses are basically they got the advantage over these defenses, man. So to see the defense actually be dominant on both sides of the football for the most part was pretty good to see. I know that everybody wants to see 1,000,000 points on the board, and you know they were trying to downgrade these teams' effort. But at the end of the day, I have no problem with a defensive game. It just tells you that, you know, when we watch some of these games out here, when the referees don't get involved, you'll probably see more games like this. I think they may have like maybe 3 penalties called the entire game. So, I mean, for some of these referees we be going at, maybe that's one of the reasons why they throw so many flags, to try to keep the game a little bit more exciting. But at the end of the day, congratulations to the Seattle Seahawks. I'm rambling right now because I'm trying to wait for people to file in before we really talk about what we need to talk about, which is Derek Carr. Derek Carr, former Saints quarterback. Of course, we know in 2025, Derek Carr decided to hang it up, hang up the cleats, retire. He had some injuries, and, you know, he decided that he wanted to step down. And, of course, we know that, you know, he took a little bit of a cut in order for, you know, the Saints to be able to save some money on the salary cap, which, you know, the New Orleans Saints now aren't in cap purgatory like a lot of people just think. And it's funny to me how narratives continue to run, because now everybody that I talk to outside of the Saints realm, everybody's still talking about the Saints being in cap hell. I'm like, man, please change the narrative. It just tells you that, you know, you misinformed. The New Orleans Saints are in a much better position and they can move forward. But we're talking about Derek Carr because, of course, the Saints still own his rights. Even though Derek Carr retired, you know, it pretty much just puts a freeze on the contract. And if Derek Carr decides to come back into the National Football League, of course, he will sign, you know, a form where he becomes reinstated, and a contract that the Saints had with him is active again. And we know that the whole Derek Carr contract, I believe, you know, they had like a $63 million cap hit and all these different things there. Look, I would expect, if Derek Carr decides that he wants to come back into the National Football League, and he kind of talked a little bit about it. He said if the opportunity presented itself and he gets an opportunity to come back to play, then never say never. But if he was to come back, I would think that the New Orleans Saints would come to some type of agreement with him, maybe restructure a deal, or they'll just sign off his rights and give it to another team and allow them to be able to renegotiate his contract. Look, I just think that the Saints need to sever ties with Derek Carr. Of course, I know the Saints are going to play a little bit of business. If there was a team that wants to, maybe trade for Derek Carr and, just trade his contract rights for, I don't know, a third-round pick or a fourth-round pick or what have you, I think that the New Orleans Saints got to do what's in the best interest of the team. Look, I just think that they need to sever ties with Derek Carr. To me, Derek Carr represents some of the worst moments in New Orleans Saints history. And I'm just saying this honestly, not to take shots at Derek Carr, but it just was not a good fit. Derek Carr just did not match the vibe of the city. And this is my personal opinion about Derek Carr. And I've said this on countless occasions. And people can get mad at me all they want to, but Derek Carr, to me, strikes me as a person that would do anything to try to please people. And, I think that it was just a different type of energy. Like, he came to the city as if he was just going to be the second coming of Drew Brees. And, it just was one of those situations where it just didn't match. The energy didn't match. His personality didn't match. And I'm not saying that Derek Carr is a terrible quarterback. He's not. And I'm pretty sure if he goes to a team, he'll play formidably. But I just think that represents a time that no Saints fan want to go back to. As a matter of fact, we all know that the New Orleans Saints struggled out the gate last season. Before, Saints fans got optimistic about the future of the team, we know that it was rough. But not one time when the Saints were going through the situation they were going through, not one time when the Saints were losing football games did I ever see any Saints fan say, man, I wish Derek Carr was still on the team. And that speaks volumes, because it just seemed like the Saints couldn't even move the ball some Sundays. So I just think that they just need to sever ties, and I just think that they need to move on. I wish Derek Carr the best. I do not want him to retire the way that he did. If he decides to come back, I want him to be able to retire on his own accord, despite what I may think about him as the starting quarterback of the Saints when he was. I still want to see this guy retire on his own terms and go out in a blaze of glory any way that he sees fit. But the New Orleans Saints have their quarterback of the future, in my opinion, and that's Tyler Shough. And we know that Tyler Shough just fits the city as of right now, hat in hand, hat on head, hand in glove, so to speak. This guy has done the right things. He has unapologetically been himself, and it just kind of matches the vibe of the city. We see him taking a part in Mardi Gras activities going on around New Orleans right now. It is carnival time, and the guy seems like he's having a time of his life. And it doesn't seem like it's forced. It doesn't seem like he's trying to be something that he's not. He just being his unapologetic self, and Saints fans like that. Now, we only seen 9 games of Tyler Shough. I mean, you got to continue to try to build on what you did last season. You can go up throughout the city and everybody's singing your praises now, but you got to continue to work hard. I mean, all of this stuff is fine and dandy, but at the end of the day, you got to generate some results, which I would feel that Tyler Shough will. But at the end of the day, let's just move on from this whole Derek Carr situation. I want the Saints to be able to move on from that. And if you can actually get something in return for Derek Carr, just go ahead and do so both parties can turn the page. It was pretty obvious that Holman didn't want to be here, and Saints fans did not want him to be here, and it just represented a very rough time within the Who Dat Nation and Saints fans all across the country at the end of the day. So, like I said, I have no problem with Derek Carr whatsoever, other than the fact that the vibe that he has did not match the New Orleans Saints vibe, and now it seems like the vibes are good. Let's go ahead and move on and, go from there. Let's go ahead and read some of these comments. It says Mike McDonald won Super Bowl in his first playoff appearance as a head coach. Yeah, Mike McDonald did a really good job, and it just tells you and shows you that if you select the right guy, then you can generate instant results. I mean, Mike Vrabel got the New England Patriots to the Super Bowl in his first season as the Patriots head coach. If you pick the right guy that's a leader of men, and he doesn't have to be a rah-rah guy. Mike McDonald is not a rah-rah guy. He's just an X's and O's guy, and he's a player's coach. And you combine that with the love and the passion of the game, guys are going to rally behind you. And Mike McDonald got the Seattle Seahawks to the Super Bowl and got them being our Super Bowl champions as of right now. So, man, congratulations to Mike McDonald. And, this is the new wave of coach that everybody is looking for now. A lot of people aren't looking for those 50, 60-year-old guys that have been around the NFL for a long time. They're mostly looking for those guys around 37, 38 years old or even younger that are X's and O's guys that have a level of energy that can match the enthusiasm and the intensity and the energy of these young players to be able to relate to them. I think that's what Kellen Moore has going for him. Kellen Moore is a guy that not only is young and understands the NFL, but he was also a guy that played in the NFL, and he understands the ebbs and flows. He understands about starting in an NFL game. He understands about sitting on a bench, preparing, getting mental reps. That kind of stuff matters. Guys want to know that a coach is going to be in the foxhole with them, and it even helps them even more. I'm talking the head coach when they have been in wars themselves. So I just think that is the new wave that owners and GMs are trying to go after when it comes to the head coaches, the young coaches that have a level of energy and more of an X's and O's and players, coaches, and don't take themselves so serious, willing to kind of be at a player's level to try to understand them better, so everybody can be on the same page. Josh says if Carr comes back, he's coming to the Raiders. I don't think he even consider another team. Well, Josh, I just don't see that happening. I mean, I just think that when you think about the Raiders organization, we know that Clint Kubiak is going to be their head coach. I mean, I don't want to say pretty much. He confirmed it after the game. So we can look at it like, well, Clint Kubiak coached Derek Carr, and it just makes sense. But I don't know about that. The Raiders have the number 1 overall pick. More than likely, they're going to draft Fernando Mendoza. That's one of the main reasons why the Raiders end up getting an X's and O's guy like Clint Kubiak. Now, if they decide to bring back Derek Carr to maybe be that bridge quarterback, then, I can understand that. But it will have to take Derek Carr understanding that he is a bridge quarterback. And I can just tell you, a guy that is a competitor like Derek Carr, a guy with the personality like Derek Carr, is not going to want to look at himself or feel as if he is a bridge quarterback. So it's really up to him. Like you look at some of these other organizations, that need quarterbacks, and not to mention there's a report going around that Tua Tagovailoa is not going to be with the Miami Dolphins. And, to me, if I'm a team that's looking for a quarterback, and some people might think that this sounds crazy, I'm looking at Tua Tagovailoa before I look at Derek Carr. He's younger, even though Tua has had some injuries, so has Derek Carr. So it's like both of these guys have missed time. Which one am I going to go after? The young guy who's had some injuries, or the older guy that's had some injuries? Now, we can talk about who's better. I mean, that's a debate for another day. But Tua Tagovailoa, once he gets released or whatever they decide to do in Miami with him, I feel like he's probably going to be a highly touted guy on the market that a lot of teams are going to go after. I mean, we know that the Atlanta Falcons need a quarterback. Michael Penix is going to have to deal with some issues that's probably going to go well into the 2026 season. We know that Kirk Cousins more than likely is going to be released. And, they got a lot of things going on. I mean, we know about the whole James Pierce situation. So you're probably going to be looking at somebody that has had some NFL experience to be able to come in to be able to kind of right the ship a little bit. And I think Tua Tagovailoa is going to be that guy. So at the end of the day, I don't see Derek Carr going back to the Raiders with that mind frame. Like he's going to just be that bridge guy for Fernando Mendoza. And more than likely, the Raiders are going to allow Fernando Mendoza to be a day one starter, to, basically go through the motions and allow him to go out there, make mistakes, and, figure out the speed of the game. We're having good vibes now. Why bring that limit back to tick us off? Well, if he does come back, he's not coming back to the Saints. Like, let's make that very clear. It's just a matter of the New Orleans Saints, doing something with the contract, rather it's handing it over to a team of Derek Carr's choosing, because you got to keep in mind, Derek Carr has a no trade clause in his contract. So it's not like the New Orleans Saints pick the team that he gets to go to, right? It's really up to him. So, for example, if he wants to go to the Jets or something, if the Jets end up wanting to sign Derek Carr, well, Derek Carr will have to sign off on that. And if he does, and both parties agree, the Jets agree, well, all three parties, the Jets, Derek Carr, and the Saints all agree to some type of deal, then it takes place. It's not like how it was with Rob Gronkowski when he retired from the Patriots, and he ended up coming back to the NFL. Well, they end up making a trade. I'm talking to Patriots with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they just gave Gronk's rights over to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in exchange for some draft compensation, right? So it will probably be a situation like that. It's not happening. It is not happening. So I don't even want Saints fans to even just think about Derek Carr coming back to the Saints, because nobody wants that. Fans don't want it. Derek Carr don't want it. And I'm pretty sure the Saints organization don't want it nor need it at the end of the day. Let's see. Why we bash him? Because that dive was the dumbest ish I ever see was in my 33 years of living. Look, I just say this at the end of the day, man. It just wasn't a good fit. It's not about bashing Derek Carr. Like, man, we want to sit up here and go after, it just wasn't a good fit. Like, Derek Carr did not fit New Orleans. And to me, the money that the New Orleans Saints paid Derek Carr, he didn't play like $100 million quarterback. You look at some of these other quarterbacks that have gone to other teams, and they have made those teams better. Derek Carr did not make the Saints better. The Saints were in the same state that they were in before he even got there. Like, winning some games, losing some games. Like, the same things that we saw from Spencer Rattler and very early in the starting career of Tyler Shuck, that's what Derek Carr was doing. Like, guys trying to figure it out, trying to elevate their game in order to try to get the Saints over the hump. So it was a lot of phone boot type games, trying to keep things close. If things get out of control, you can't come back. Like, it was the same thing. And when you pay a guy that type of money, I'm sorry. If you're paying a guy $100 million, he cannot be average. He has to be able to elevate the players around him. And you can make an argument that Derek Carr had a better situation of guys he was throwing the football to than Tyler Shuck did. Nobody knew what Devon Vele was capable of. Nobody knew what Ronnie Bell was capable of. Nobody really knew that Chris Olave was out here being a second-team All-Pro. They know he had talent, but the argument has been, well, is Chris Olave a number one receiver? In a short period of time, in 9 games, he has made guys that were questionable, and Saints fans having questions about them. He answered those questions. He got those questions answered because of the way he was able to elevate the guys around him. Derek Carr did not elevate anybody around him. If Derek Carr had a game where, let's just say, Chris Olave wasn't available, well, guess what? I mean, there was no Jawan Johnson stepping up his game. There was no Rashid Shaheed stepping up his game. Like, none of that, right? So at the end of the day, it's not like people just sitting up here just don't have a gripe and don't have a legitimate argument as to why Derek Carr didn't work in New Orleans. Like, it just didn't work out. I'm not saying that he was garbage. I'm not saying that he trash. But at the end of the day, you cannot be a mid-level quarterback on a mid-tier team and think that you're about to be elite. Like, in anything, you're going to be an average team. The Saints at that time, they needed a quarterback to elevate them. And they paid Derek Carr because they felt like he had the ability to do so. We can talk about the situations that he's been in. We can talk about all of the things that happened and transpired with the Saints throughout the time he was there. But at the end of the day, we all know that if you pay a quarterback that type of money, regardless to if it's, well, not to, like a high salary in comparison to this guy and that guy, bump all that. You pay a guy $100 million, guess what? You think that guy is capable of taking you somewhere. And Derek Carr didn't take the Saints anywhere at all. So we just got to keep it a buck, man. We got to keep it a buck. It's not nobody out here just trashing Derek Carr just to trash him. Like, it just did not fit. It didn't fit, man. It just was not a good fit for New Orleans. So, like I said, I don't think that Derek Carr is the worst quarterback I ever seen, but he's average. Congrats, Seattle Seahawks. I'm happy for Rashid Shaheed. Wish he got punt return, a kick return, touchdown, or receiving touchdown. Well, he should have had a receiving touchdown if Sam Darnold didn't play. Speaking of mid, that was the worst. That was one of the worst performances I ever seen. Look, when it comes to Drake, this man, toilet paper offensive line. This guy was running for his life. He was seeing ghosts, and the timing in his head was just, he had to speed it up. He could not get in any type of rhythm because, as much as I like Will Campbell, he looked awful. He looked awful, man. He looked absolutely awful. And, like I said, Sam Darnold had opportunity. He had Rashid Shaheed wide open. He was able to get a couple steps ahead or behind Carlton Davis. Should have been a touchdown. So, but at the end of the day, you can really truly say that Rashid Shaheed is one of the main reasons why a lot of things worked in the favor of the Seattle Seahawks. That game against the Rams, they were down, and he ended up returning a punt for a touchdown, and they were able to gain momentum because of that. I think they were down maybe 2 touchdowns late in that game, and of course we know what he did in the postseason. That opening kickoff return against the 49ers that basically set the tone for the entire game. So, I know sometimes guys, don't get the touchdown. They don't get that fairy tale ending when it comes to the Super Bowl. I can remember the 85 Bears. A lot of people don't know that Walter Payton didn't get a touchdown in that game, right? And it upset him. It hurt him, right? There was a story where he was sitting in the locker room. He was upset. That famous gadget play where they had William Refrigerator Perry run a touchdown in from the goal line. A lot of people felt like, Walter Payton should have ran the ball in. He had a magical season. He was incredible that year. But at the end of the day, you're not always going to have a fairy tale ending. But, one thing they can never take away from you is the fact that you're a Super Bowl champion. And shouts out to Rashid Shaheed, and shouts out to Village Jones, man. Village Jones also is a Super Bowl champion. Both guys started this season with the New Orleans Saints, so congratulations to them. Says F that car, we should have bought a scooter. I thought Sam managed the game well, no turnovers. Yeah, it was very early in the game where we all realized that as long as you keep the car, speaking of car, 10-2, then, and don't crash it, you're going to win this football game. You can easily see. They were on third down, it'd be 3rd and 10. And they'll just hand the ball off to Kenneth Walker because they did not believe that the Patriots had the dogs in the fight, the horses in the barn to be able to sit up here and be able to match the intensity that they had. So he managed the game well. He ain't turned the ball over, right? I mean, and sometimes that's all it takes. I know everybody wants to see that magical moment where, that quarterback leads that game-winning drive with under 2 minutes left. But look, if you aren't, seeing the field well, if the defense of the opposing team is, making things difficult for you, well, just run the football. If the running game is working, run the football, which it was with Kenneth Walker. So, look, sometimes you just got to know when to fold them, know when to hold them, know when to walk away, know when to run. You better count your money. As a defensive guy, I'd rather have defensive games like turnovers and sacks, stuff like that. Look, man, a good defense carries everywhere. And sometimes, you may not be able to be a high-powered offense on that day. But if you can consistently play good defense, then you're going to win games more so than not. And, I honestly believe, man, if the Saints probably had a good defense throughout the years when Drew Brees was like really in his prime, Saints probably would have won probably more than one Super Bowl. But I mean, a good defense travels everywhere. Honestly, I'd rather have a really good defense than a really good offense. Like, I feel like you can, if you draft well and you have a really good coach, you can generate some offense. But if I'm starting off a team, like let's just say I'm Clint Kubiak and they hire me as a head coach, like I'd rather come in like knowing that I have a top 10 defense. Like that would be appealing to me. Because if I'm an offensive guy, then I know, okay, man, I got a good defense. They're going to be able to get off the field on third down. They're going to be able to generate some turnovers, and they can make things easier for me while I'm trying to figure out this offense, trying to find my right quarterback, trying to get the running game going, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, I'd rather have a good defense. Zach Barnes goes to the Eagles and win a Super Bowl, and now Shaheed did the same with Seattle. And not to mention the Saints coaching staff. The Saints scouting department is doing their job for the most part, just need all the ingredients to mix. Yeah, I think that this year they did a really good job, but I think, like, honestly, let's just keep it 100. I think the fan base, the energy that the New Orleans Saints fans came with in 2025 really held the Saints organization foot to the fire. And regardless to how they want to spin it or make it seem like, oh, man, we already had this in us. No. Sometimes you can get a little bit lax. You can rest on your laurels, so to speak. The fact that you sit up here and have that type of success, and I think that a lot of upper management in the Saints front office felt like, okay, man, we did something that Saints fans never seen us doing. That's win a championship. But, man, that championship is eons ago. And I just think that they got lazy. And I think that Saints fans, they had enough. And they were really going at them. And also, you got to give credit to the media, too, because the media was really out here grilling them. And you can tell. At those press conferences, it seemed like the Saints brass were on the defensive. So, to me, it was almost like they went into a meeting and said, okay, man, we about to shut them up. And I look, I don't care. I will be quiet. If that means, if I'm sitting up here holding your foot to the fire, I call you out and that causes you to react, I have no problem with that. If it means that you're generating positive results based on me calling you out. And I think that Saints fans calling out the organization, Saints beat writers out here giving that real deal Holyfield when it comes to the writing about where this team is and how this team is out here just basically talking about 2009 like it happened last night. It made the Saints organization burn the midnight oil and really look at these guys. And they did a lot of things last offseason that we didn't see them do in a long time. They went out here and they got the best players that they could possibly get at that particular position. And every one of those players paid dividends for the New Orleans Saints in some capacity. I mean, from Mataval, who didn't play that much, but in red zone situations, he was out there blocking. So everybody did their part. So if you can continue to replicate that, and hopefully it don't involve the New Orleans Saints fans having to call you out each and every year. Everybody, for the most part, is kind of chilling and everybody happy with the direction of the team right now. So nobody really calling them out. And yeah, I mean, they taking victory laps. I mean, I think Mickey Loomis happy to talk to the media now. I mean, he out here making press runs, like he about to star in a new movie that's about to come out. But last year, I mean, we seen him talk, and then at the end of the day, like after that, we ain't see him no more. So they glad to talk now, and I ain't got no problem with it. Keep on talking. I mean, take that victory lap, but make sure that you keep things consistent, where Saints fans don't have to keep calling you out and have that type of energy that was brought to us by the fine folks at the Derek Carr representatives. I mean, the Derek Carr Foundation right there. Let's call it that, right? That type of energy that Saints fans didn't want, right? The stale king cake, the Walmart king cake, so to speak. Nobody want no Walmart king cake, right? We want Gambinos, right? We want some real king cake. You know what I'm saying? With the cream filling, right? We ain't trying to get no Walmart king cake, and that's what they were telling us. And like I said, this has nothing to do with the ability of Derek Carr. I'm talking about the energy, the vibe. People know, man, if you're a Saints fan, you know what I'm talking about. It's an energy that you come with. Look, everybody understands that, celebrities and well-known individuals can't just be walking out here, right, all the time. Well, I take that back. Yes, they can. That is how you have to ingratiate yourself to Saints fans. Like, yeah, you're making $100 million. Yeah, you got this big house in the Garden District. Yeah, you can get into places that most Saints fans can't get into, buy things that most Saints fans can't. But at the same time, look, man, if you see me and my car is out of gas and I'm pushing this car down the street, I would like to think that if you see me and you in your G-Wagon, you're going to pull over to the side and help me get to the gas station. You're going to help me push this car. And that's the type of energy that Saints fans feel that they're famous, well-known people need to have. So if you feel like you up here and, man, y'all need to just be glad that I'm here, not going to work out. It's not going to work out. But long story short, keep the main thing, and I guarantee you Saints fans will be happy and they won't be talking about you. A lot of the bad moves are the reason why that, Saints fans are upset and have an issue with Mickey Loomis, right? I mean, a couple of years ago, everybody was calling Mickey Loomis a cap wizard, and we all seen that meme where you had the Matrix numbers behind him and stuff like that, right? He was the toast of the town. So you want to keep that type of energy, man. Nobody wants to keep on talking about this man need to retire, you suck, and this, that, and the third. Like, that's counterproductive. Damn, TJ, it ain't been that long. The Cowboys was eons. I mean, look, 2009? Man, that's a good minute. That's a good minute. I'm sorry, it is. It's a good minute. Like the Dallas Cowboys, yeah. That was eons and eons ago, right? You got to put 2 eons on there. Patriots and Rams game is boring. If people like offense, if people like defense, then shouldn't be boring. Just saying. Well, look, I think that people just think like the people felt that Super Bowl was diluted. They felt like, like the team that was in it, which was the Rams, shouldn't have been in it. And I think that you combine that with a lackluster Super Bowl. If the Rams would have beat the Saints outright and they would have went to the Super Bowl and it was boring, yeah, people would have talked about how boring the Super Bowl was, but it just adds just an extra little bit of hot sauce on it that, their Super Bowl appearance came with questions. I've watched every Super Bowl that in my entire lifetime, I don't think I ever missed a Super Bowl, for the exception of that one. I couldn't tell you not one thing that happened at that Super Bowl. I promise you, I did not watch that Super Bowl at all. I didn't watch. That's the only Super Bowl in my life I can remember not watching. I couldn't tell you one play. I couldn't tell you one thing that a player did in that game. I promise you, I couldn't. I couldn't tell you who caught a pass. I couldn't tell you who had a sack. I couldn't tell you one thing about that game. I never watched that football game. That would be like watching a new episode or something. I'm just keeping it 100 with y'all. I'm gonna take a few more now. I gotta go ahead and get up out of here, man. But thank y'all for being here, man. We got 110 people watching this right now. And look, man, I'm excited. We have a new platform, man. You can actually check out clips if you want to not sit up here and watch an entire hour-plus episode of the State of the Saints podcast. You can actually get the clips on Yahoo Sports, man. You go to Yahoo Sports, search New Orleans Saints, you'll see this handsome face right here, man. You'll be able to check out some of the clips and some of the highlights of the State of the Saints podcast. So shouts out to Yahoo Sports, man, for having your boy and putting me on that platform, man. That's pretty dope, man. And you showed you how far we come here on the State of the Saints podcast, man, getting that type of exposure and those type of opportunities, man. So make sure that y'all check it out, man. Please support, hit those clicks because they matter. They matter, man. So please support me and look at some of the content there on Yahoo Sports. Blessings, TJ. The group here in New Orleans are all talking bus rides to Canton 2 show for Drew. Me and my wife are locked in already. Yeah, man. Look, I'm planning on going to Canton. Man. So hopefully I end up getting my credentials to be able to cover the Hall of Fame game. To be able to see that up close and personal, man. I gotta make it to that. Because I'd rather be an honest football fan than being a fool for not watching it. I mean, look, I ain't got no problem with people watch the Super Bowl. I mean, it's a tradition. It's a tradition, man. Look, I mean, it has even become a tradition in the Jones household, man. Shouts out to my wife who doesn't even like football like that. And some of y'all like, unless you like on social media, like you probably seen pictures of my wife, but look, my wife is like very quiet. You know, it's like she's not on social media like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, but she even like, takes part, and cooks food and stuff like that for, me and Paxton and, and we sit around and we kind of, just watch the game. It's a tradition for a lot of people. I can understand why people watch the Super Bowl, but in that case, man, I didn't watch it, man. I mean, at that time, I wasn't, I didn't have my hand in, many cookie jars, so to speak, at the time, being a journalist and all that kind of stuff. I was just strictly doing this. And like, I was just on my fandom, you know what I'm saying? like I was just looking at it like, man, they just screwed my squad, man. And I didn't want no part of that. TJ, if the Bucs release Mike Evans, do you think the Saints should sign him? I mean, why not? Look, I'm not like one of those people that feel like, oh man, because Mike Evans played for the Bucs, I ain't gonna give him his props. That guy's a hell of a wide receiver. And the Saints, if he was available, and he would want to come to the Saints, I would take a fly on him. I don't see that happening. And I don't feel like Mike Evans needs to leave the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't feel like he needs to leave the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because, look, he already has a Super Bowl championship. It's not like he has to chase a ring. And, he can be one of those players if Tampa allows him back. He can be that guy that can retire as a lifer. So I don't feel like he needs to leave. But I can understand what Tampa, may want to do. Maybe they don't want to, spend that type of money on a veteran when they got some young guys that can maybe pick up the slack. But Mike Evans, regardless, like they got some talent at the wide receiver position in Tampa. But every time Mike Evans hit the field, it was pretty clear that he was the best wide receiver on the team. So, I mean, look, I'm not one of those people that like, oh, man, heck no, because, I mean, why do you despise Mike Evans, right? Most of the time it's probably because, he came with a level of aggression, his spats with Marshawn Lattimore. But think about this. If Marshawn Lattimore was the cornerback for the Bucs and Mike Evans was the wide receiver for the Saints, well, guess what? If Marshawn Lattimore still had something left in the tank and he was playing at a high level when he was on the street, you'll probably be saying the same thing. Heck no. Right? So look, I have no issue with that at all, man. Look, we got to get past all that stuff, man. I know people like be in their feelings and they look at like some of these players and what they did and how they carried themselves. But look, man, when you out there on that field and you got rivals going, like it's a level of energy that you come with that's different, man. You know, I always talk about with Jackson State and Alcorn. Like, I don't rock with Alcorn like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, look, shouts out to everybody that went there. But at the end of the day, man, when Jackson State playing Alcorn, man, it ain't no love lost up in this thing. So I get it, but at the end of the day, like if a player is good, they good. And finally says, I heard about that Markel Bell cat in Miami. Nice lineman. Yeah, I mean, all they got is speed out there in Miami. All they got is speed. But at the end of the day, man, the Saints just need to draft the best players available. If they do that, then they'll be just fine. If they don't, then guess what? Be in the same position they've been in for the last couple of years, which is not making a postseason. But hopefully things that are positive upon the horizon of the New Orleans Saints, on the horizon, I should say. And, they can be able to get back to their winning ways, something we haven't seen in quite some time, man. So hopefully Kellen Moore can have a much better second year, and be able to improve the team. And maybe another year where you can actually get some players that kind of fit the scheme defensively and offensively. Sky's the limit for the New Orleans Saints. But once again, thank you all for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. Really do appreciate it. For those that don't know, my name is TJ Jones, host here of the State of the Saints podcast. And you can subscribe to the channel. We have shows every single week. We do YouTube shorts. We also are on Bleacher Report. We do shorts there on Bleacher Report. Once again, you can check out some of the content on Yahoo Sports if you want to get little snippets of the State of the Saints podcast is available for you. If you wanted to interact with me, you can go ahead and follow me on X at TJAY Jones 8. Till next time, all I got to say is, who dat?